I'm here to do kind of a fun filler video. We just have a particularly long month this month and I wanted to do something kind of fun, and this video is going to be The Unusual Suspects. That is books that I have adored that have been what I consider to be outside my comfort zone, or just genres I don't always pick up as my first choice. I have 5 books today to talk about, and hopefully it won't be too much. I do want to give a quick call out to Murphy Napier. I love her channel, check it out below. She's where I got the idea to do this from, and I know a lot of other booktubers have done it since I saw that video initially, and I just think it's a really fun idea. So the first book for me that feels outside of my usual genres and preferences is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Although I do read a lot of contemporary or contemporary romance, this is something I never would have thought I would have enjoyed or picked up if it hadn't been available and I had nothing else to read from the library. It's a soap opera with a bunch of stupid rich people, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I hated like 90% of the characters, but the story was just so fast-paced, and every time you went around a corner there was something new and weird and petty going on, and I just ate it up, and I usually don't pick up stuff like that, so it caught me off guard. The second book I picked up that really surprised me was Three Dark Crowns, and a big thing with that is that I have really found recently that I've really grown out of young adult fantasy. There's a few series, like I've read the series by Julie Kagawa, Shadow of the Fox series. I've read the Shadow of the Fox series by Julie Kagawa. I have the third book on my bookshelf. I haven't picked it up yet, but there have been a lot of young adult fantasy recently that I've just really, really not enjoyed. And this, where it's kind of a fight to get the crown between 3 sisters, is even stranger and darker than I typically like my fantasy in general. But I read the first one and then immediately read all of the rest of the series that was out. It really surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. It really did. The third book that I was shocked to enjoy was The Blade Itself by Jo Abercrombie. I know I've mentioned this in kind of like my mid-year videos, but I'm going to mention it here again because I really was so surprised. I've tried other grimdark. There's other grimdark I've read recently that I hated. I know I gave The Poppy War 3 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to try to pick it up again, but I rounded up strongly after my first read when I rated that, and I did not care for it. And I didn't care for The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo either. Like, they were both good, and I know they have a really wide audience, but I just don't care for grimdark fantasy. But I liked The Blade Itself. There was something about it that was, even though the world was horrible and the people were terrible, there was just something that was slightly lighthearted or absurdist about it that really kept me into it. And if you haven't read a lot of grimdark, I actually really recommend starting here. My fourth recommendation is The Women Are Some Kind of Magic series and Break Your Glass Slippers by Amanda Lovelace. I never thought myself to be a big poetry person, but in my effort to branch out in the genres I read this year, I read The Women Are Some Kind of Magic series, and then the recent release this year of Break Your Glass Slippers, and I have to say I was blown away. I really like her style of poetry, the messages that it did, the aesthetic to the writing, and how it added to the message of each poem. And I know it's not for everybody. If you're looking for something interesting in the poetry world, definitely give it a shot, at least one of them, because they're a good time in my books. My fifth and final unusual suspect is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Although I love historical fiction and I love chick lit and I love literary fiction, which is kind of what the big genres this falls under, I'm not a big fan of like reading about famous people or Hollywood, but this one really took me by surprise. It was a lot more grounded and a lot more memoir-like than I was expecting. And I just loved it. The story is super intriguing. There's a few twists that really add to the depth of the characters involved, and if you're looking for something a little bit different, I totally recommend it. I know this book was popular on BookTube a while ago when it came out, and I gotta tell you guys, it lives up to the hype. And that's all I have for you today for the video. Those are the 5 books that I really enjoyed, that I would recommend, that are considered kind of outside of my normal reads because they're not sci-fi fantasy or World War II historical fiction. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.